The Speaking Statements, the podcast of statements about the 50 U.S. states. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for alerts for when a new episode is released.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 8th episode of the Speaking Statements. We're glad to have you here because it's a special episode. We have a guest here that's pretty excited to be here. It's my state that I'm in right now. It's on location. I'm so pleased to announce that we have Beth Canty, Illinois' state representative, on my podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I have a couple of questions for you to answer about Illinois.
I'm ready.
Okay. My first question is, how does your job help people in Illinois?
So that's a really good question and one that I love so much, and I love you asked it first because one of the things I always tell people when I'm in the capital or when I'm in the district is that I only do this job to help people. So I'm pretty lucky. My family doesn't need a whole lot. My kids love school, and my husband and I both have really good jobs, and so we feel pretty comfortable. But there are people around the state who need some help, right? They need help with their schooling. They need help finding good jobs and making sure we have things that people want to have in their state. So part of my job is to help them get those things and figure out how they can make the best use of them. And sometimes people have problems, right? They might have a question and they don't know how to get the help that they need, and they can come to my office and either I'll help them or my district director, Matt, will help them. So we have connections all across the state. It's the only thing that I do is help people all day long.
Wow, I never thought that'd be the answer. My second question is, what is about Springfield that you like?
There are a lot of really cool things about Springfield that I like. But can I tell you something that a lot of other people like first that I actually don't like?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a food called a horseshoe?
No.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about it, and maybe you will like it, and you can come visit me in Springfield, and we will go and have a horseshoe. But it's a piece of toast. And then on the toast, they put a piece of meat, like a chicken patty or a hamburger patty. And then they put French fries on top of it. And then they put cheese sauce on top of it. So it's like a big pile up thing. And they call it a horseshoe. And everyone says you have to have one when you're in Springfield. So when you come visit me, we can go and have one. But to be honest, I think it sounds kind of yucky. But do you know what I love about Springfield?
What?
The people. We see some of the most interesting people when we're down in Springfield because we have folks that are really happy to come and be in the capital, and maybe they're just there on a visit, taking a tour and learning, or maybe they're trying to get us to vote in favor of a bill that they really like. But sometimes they're not so happy. And even those people are really interesting because when they have a different point of view than I have, it's interesting to hear why they think the way they do. And sometimes you can change people's mind. So that's my favorite thing about Springfield, are just all the different kinds of people that you meet.
Wow, good answer. My third question is, what are the big differences between Northern Illinois and Southern Illinois?
Okay. That is a really good question. So a lot of times people will say something like downstate. Have you ever heard somebody say that? Downstate Illinois?
I haven't heard that, but I've heard downtown.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about that. So when people say downtown up by us, they're usually talking about Chicago, right? And there's a phrase that people use in Illinois, and they say downstate. And they really mean everything that's not in Chicago. Isn't that crazy? Because our state is so big. You could drive for like 6 hours south and still not quite have covered the whole state. It's pretty long, right? So then we talk about north of a road called I-80. So there's north of I-80. That's where you and I live. And south of I-80. And south of I-80, so the southern part of Illinois, is a lot of farmland. So a lot of the things that we make and grow, a lot of that comes from the southern part of Illinois. And if you only lived in the southern part of Illinois and went to some of our parks down there, you might think Illinois is a really hilly state because we have some really cool parks and it looks really hilly there. But you and I know it's not a hilly state, right? It's pretty flat.
Right.
Right. So that's one of the big differences. And then also up here, most of our houses are really close together, right? Because we have up here about 70-ish% of the population. Do you know what population is?
No, but I can guess what it is.
What do you guess it is?
I'm guessing it's like the space between each house.
Pretty close. So population are the people. Like me and you and your mom and your dad and your brother, we make up a population. So 70%. So if there's only 100% of the people in the state, 70%, that's like almost all the people live right up by us. So there's not that much space. So our houses are really close together. It's why we can bike ride to the park and do that kind of stuff, right? But then the other 30% of the population lives in the southern part. And they're spread out and they have these great big pieces of yard and great big farms. So it's pretty neat. It's like going to a whole different place going down south. It's really cool.
Wow. Nice answer. My fourth question is, what's your favorite thing about Illinois?
Okay. This is a really important one because we were talking before the show started and I told you I didn't grow up in Illinois, right? So I've lived in a lot of places. I've lived in Virginia and Puerto Rico and Arizona and Nevada, and then I moved to Illinois in 2008. And one of the things that I love is how nice everybody is. This is one of the kindest places that I've ever lived in my whole life. So when we first moved into our house in 2009, our new neighbors across the street, they showed up at my door and they knocked and I didn't know what to do. So I opened the door and do you know what they had?
What?
Cookies! They brought us a plate of cookies. Isn't that so nice? And they welcomed us to the neighborhood. And I've lived all over the country and nobody had ever done that before. And I just thought, what a nice area to live in. People are so friendly. And even when they don't agree with me all the time, people are really friendly most of the time. It's one of my favorite things about living here.
Wow. My fifth question is, what cool facts do you know about Chicago?
Okay, so I just got to go and visit the Chicago Museum because my kids had spring break back in March and we did what we call a staycation. So we stayed here in the state of Illinois and we spent a couple of days in the city of Chicago. We have a ton of museums. And did you know we have a lot of chocolate factories in the city of Chicago?
No, but yum.
Yes, exactly. So we make things like Twix bars and M&Ms and all kinds of really cool stuff. And we also make gummy bears, like Haribo gummy bears in the state. It's really a cool place. And did you know that we also have one of the only rivers that flows backwards? We had to change the whole flow of a river, and that's how they're able to dye it green. It's pretty neat for St. Patrick's Day, and they make it turn bright green, and so many people come down to watch it happen. And sometimes there are charities that even do these rubber duck races, and they'll load up all of these rubber ducks, you know, the yellow ones that you've seen floating in the bathtub, and they'll dump a whole bunch of them into the river, and it's like a floating race of all of these rubber ducks. Isn't that kind of neat?
Yeah.
I think so too. So those are some of the things that I know about the city of Chicago.
Wow, that's a very cool fact. I'm done with my questions now. Thanks for being on the show. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's been the best time. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Now we'll do my notes. The Mississippi River forms the western border of Illinois. 5 states border Illinois. They are Indiana, Kentucky, Iowa, Missouri, and Wisconsin. Lake Michigan borders it too, which is one of the 5 Great Lakes. Indigenous people were the first to live in Illinois Prairie. It became a state in 1818. The largest city is Chicago, and the nickname is the Prairie State. Abraham Lincoln started his job in Springfield, the capital. Ronald Reagan, the 40th president, was born in Tampico, and Walt Disney, who made the Disney movies and Disney World and Disneyland amusement park, was born in Chicago. The Willis Tower in downtown Chicago is one of the tallest buildings in the world. It is 1,450 feet tall, which is 110 floors. From the 103rd floor, you can see 4 states at once: Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana. The Chicago Public Library is the largest public library in the world with more than 2 million books. Illinois is the 21st state. Now to the fast facts, Leo. Leo, start us off. What did the state key? White oak. What did the state flower? It would be the violet. What is the state bird? State bird is a cardinal. What is the state animal? White-tailed deer. What is the state fish? The state fish is a bluegill. What is the state dance? It's a square dance. What is the state insect? The state insect is a monarch butterfly. What is the state amphibian? The state amphibian is an eastern tiger salamander. What is the state reptile? The state reptile is a painted turtle. Thanks for doing fast facts with us, Leo. You're welcome. See you on the next podcast. Thank you, Lillian. Welcome. Bye. And last but not least, the Illinois quarter is Abraham Lincoln in an outline state of Chicago buildings and the farmlands and words that say the land of Lincoln. That's all for today, but check in on Friday for our next episode. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Speaking Statements.